In November of 1974, American superstar Billy Joel, one of the best-selling and most highly regarded musical acts of all time, released the lone single from his brand new album, Street Life Serenade. This single, titled The Entertainer, was a witty and cynical look at the life of fame that many idolized, but he lived. Lamenting the constant struggle against deadlines, greedy record label executives, and a capricious public that would sooner move on to the next big thing than sit and appreciate the kind of art that artists felt called to create. In the song's lyrics, Joel moves from an exhausted recounting of all of the material trappings that many at the time envied in famous musicians, to lamenting the constant fight for relevance and, ultimately, accepting that his role in the spotlight is a temporary one. The Entertainer would go on to peak at number 35 on the US charts, and the album Street Life Serenade would reach number 34 in the year of its release. Almost poetic that the first time The Entertainer took an introspective look, he faltered. Looking back on the album's conception and lack of success, Joel would comment that the album had interesting musical ideas, but almost nothing to say lyrically. In the pursuit of relevance, even the best among us fall short when chasing our own tails. One of the best things about making YouTube videos and running a channel is that YouTube recommends channels of similar size, quality, and viewership count to you. While this is probably in place to foster collaboration between channels of similar size, as collaboration seems to be the metagame of content creation at the moment, I can't help but find myself poring over these channels' metrics and digging into their numbers, trying to find out what makes them tick. I view many of these channels as being my peers, and try to learn from them what they do, both correctly and incorrectly, stealing little tricks that I find interesting and avoiding pitfalls that I dread falling into. Perhaps I'm too involved in the analytics that YouTube offers me. I'm certainly active in my own comments, at least until they become too numerous to keep up with, and I won't pretend to have a greater understanding of what video analytics mean than any of you, but that doesn't stop me from staring at them. Anybody who has been with the channel for a while now knows that I'm an avid fan of heuristic studies, and while I'm definitely the less talented, off-brand heuristic studies at home, I find that it helps to have creative influences to serve as a guiding star for what you want your content to be. My viewers responded so intelligently and thoughtfully to my video on differences between known and unknown information in competitive games that it made me want to dig a bit deeper into the subject, really kind of flesh it out. I'm always very worried that I'm not effectively communicating my ideas, or that they're being poorly defended. And while I feel like I'm making strides in my editing and recording ability, it's all still very amateurish. All of this combined to make a video idea that was going to take a while, probably 2 weeks, if not 3. And while I naturally want to continue the momentum that my channel is gaining, I'm really not interested in sacrificing quality. One of the first big man-in-the-mirror moments I had to have after my hiatus from school was that my videos were simply no good. It's easy to blame the algorithm or the poor taste of the viewing public for a video's lack of success. But simply asking yourself, would I watch this video if I weren't the one making it, is a massive gut blow, and forces a realization, and an ultimatum. Today's video was originally supposed to be a follow-up to what is now the third most viewed video on my channel, the Cool Cards and Power Creep video, highlighting some lesser viewed cards from the upcoming set Maze of Millennia. Really, I just think that Phoenix Gearfried is a super cool card and wanted an excuse to talk about it. The video was supposed to be a content stopgap while I worked on the follow-up to our larger discussion on variable forms of competition. 3/4 of the way through script writing, I stopped and asked myself, is this something that people actually want to watch? Are you just making this to produce content to tide people over? Is this what you want to be doing? And it made me take this week's video in a different direction than I had initially planned, and it made me wonder, what is content? We all consume it. I know I definitely do. My digital well-being settings on my phone have basically diagnosed me with blue light poisoning for the past 7 years consecutively, but I don't think any of us really understands it. I watched some videos on the subject before sitting down to write this script, and found that the approach that so many creators take towards this idea of content is purely mathematical, algorithmic. It becomes a game of numbers in and numbers out, eyeballs on your videos, thumbnails, and provocative titles. It's this aggressive, calculated, mid-level advertising firm from 1985 type approach to digital media that just really rubs me the wrong way. And it's that feeling that I'd like to explore today. The best explanation of content that I've seen describes it as media designed to promote engagement with an audience. And I don't think I could have hit the issue on the head better than that. It's an absolute bullseye. It's the same kind of communication that you use when you're trying to get something from a coworker or an acquaintance. The communication isn't carrying with it some message of inherent value. The purpose is to engage an audience. This leads to situations where, even if you don't have anything to say, you're incentivized to speak in order to engage with your audience. I've seen countless content creators up and down the aisle bemoan the modern content incentive structure. Daily uploads, trend riding, collaborations, it's exhausting. And many content creators express routine burnout and frustration from working this way and seeking to hit these benchmarks of production. It feels like the videos announcing breaks and mental health concerns come more frequently than they did even a decade ago, and I think it's tied to this issue of content. For many on this platform, and others, the desperate grasp for an audience leaves them feeling as though they have no choice but to chase that dragon, keep to the trends, capitalize on every ebb and flow in the culture and in their particular spheres of influence, in order to attract and keep their audience's eyes glued to them, in a space where competition lurks around every ad reel, chomping at the bit to steal their eyeballs. This need for constant success can force creators into a corner, not allowing them to take risks with new or fresh content, lest they incur too many failures and face the risk of significant financial harm. After a while, the channel sinks into a rut, producing the same content endlessly, terrified to veer from that small lane that they've somehow managed to achieve a degree of success and stability in. I have no question in my mind that many content creators have long lost any affection for the product that they're producing, and have fallen into uninspired stagnation. We hate to see it as viewers. We all have channels that we've watched it happen to, which leads me to ask, how do some YouTube channels manage to attract large audiences while producing such little content? The first advice any new creator is given is to establish a reliable, preferably daily, upload schedule, to give your audience the expectation of consistent, free entertainment. And yet, some of the creators that we are most ravenously fond of, people like Salmonella or Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh!, produce content sporadically, almost randomly, with long spans of time in between uploads. So what's the deal? I think that it really does just come down to quality. Channels like Jaden Animations or Ristic Studies produce content of such high quality that people come to look forward to the content's release. It becomes an event, something that people set aside time out of their day to watch. Channels such as The Dual Logs, a creator I respect and who has taken hundreds of hours of my life from me, specifically engineer their content to be able to fade into the background, become the white noise of our day. That thing which chases away the silence and the dark, the loneliness. At which point I have to ask if it's even content that we're consuming, or if this massive deluge of content is a substitute for something else. Obviously, I'm not qualified to provide an answer to this question, but I feel that if other people engage in their content consuming habits like I do, this distinction between content that must be actively engaged in and content that exists in the background must mean something. I guess what I'm saying is I want to make good videos to the best of my ability. I'm blessed to have a good job that I have no desire or intent of leaving, and so I don't need to rely on a crazy upload schedule to provide stability. And I've only been making videos for a very, very short length of time. So I appreciate you guys watching as I stumble my way through this. It means a lot. After the tepid response to Streetlight Serenade, feeling creatively drained and lost after having achieved such early success, the Piano Man became disillusioned with Los Angeles, and, in that dim gray of early morning, set out on the long road for New York once again, the resting place of his muse. The following years brought albums such as Turnstiles in 1975 and The Stranger in 1977. Joel shattered his previous ceiling and established himself as a permanent fixture in American pop culture. Sometimes you just have to do what you know is right.